nervous system is required. So the frog can jump before earthquakey footsteps reach him. And the cat, with an even more elaborate brain, needs but a slight sight or sound as the stimulus to complex activities. In the sense that man's behavior is most finely adapted to the greatest number of situations, he is indeed the highest form of life. This is possible because his nervous system is the most complex. The central nervous system, connected by nerves to the rest of the body, consists of the spinal cord, medulla, midbrain, and thalamus, all mainly concerned with simple reflex acts, and the cerebrum, and indirectly the cerebellum, concerned with voluntary, intelligent behavior. Compared to man's, the nervous systems of the cat and the frog are, of course, small. Yet it is hardly surprising that even when these are increased to the same weight, that the cerebrum of the cat, and still more that of the frog, are tiny compared to man's. Nor is it surprising that when man possesses relatively no more cerebrum than the frog, he is a complete idiot. But note further that the frog's nervous system has just the same parts as man's, though differing in relative size. And this must be so, since each part of the nervous system has its own separate duty to perform, and these duties are fundamentally alike from frog to physiologist. For no other organ is this true. One would hardly miss one lung or half the liver. A small injury in the spinal cord, however, may paralyze a man's leg. There is a remarkable reason for this special functioning of nerve cells in particular positions, for all the 10 billion of these cells are in the central nervous system. But each of them, unlike any other cell, is stretched into an enormously long fiber which goes from one definite location to another. This microscopic view shows, in fact, that a nerve is but a bundle of these processes running like wires in a cable, each fiber encased in its own fatty insulator. Each fiber connects at its far end to a sense organ, such as skin or eye, which receives stimuli, or to a muscle which executes a response. Other smaller branches of nerve cells connect with each other, or with intermediate cells, so that a complete pathway exists between sense organ and muscle, as well as to other parts of the nervous system. Actually, as this microscopic view of nerve cells shows, in a desert region of the southwestern United States, in the Rocky Mountain Plateau, live the Navajo Indians. The Navajos call themselves Dine, the people. Their horses, formerly used to, they now ride peacefully about their reservation. We follow the gaze of Tasca, a Navajo youth, and we discover a shepherdess with a herd of sheep and goats. Around their herds is centered the life of the Navajos, even as Tasca's interest today seems centered about Alnaba, the shepherdess. Alnaba is herding her mother's flock and hers, for among the Navajos, women usually own the flocks. Alnaba and her little sister go seriously about their work. The sheep and goats are of great value to them for their flesh and their wool. Each evening, the flock is brought into the corral. 2 sides only of this corral need to be fenced in. Alnaba's family is living in its winter hogan, built of logs and dirt. Within the hogan, Alnaba and her mother are preparing the evening meal. Mutton stew will be featured. Her father repairs a saddle for his pet.
Okay, how about you, Winchester?
Well, I have a little excitement.
What happened?
I have a little present here for you.
What's that, black?
Came in the side of the radio room and hit the buckle on my parachute. Fell on the floor.
Well, who had this plane?
Phil.
What time was that?
Well, it was about $1,600.
$1,600. Where did it happen?
You know, that's where we had that.
Well, it's right here, just east of us.
East of our...
Ammunition is cheap. 6 cents worth of .50 caliber wanged into the cockpit of a Messerschmitt. That's what will bring you home. What did that weatherman say? 30 below over the target? Electrically heated suits. The Air Corps dresses for every occasion. Yes, Everything has to be right, brother. Check everything. Every strap tight. Every buckle set. Everything understood. You get into your flight.
Leaves will support the weight of a person. Well, of a small person anyway. The cannonball tree produces an impressive, round, heavy pod, which contains one of nature's little jokes. The meat has an exquisite pink color and an odor that is simply incredibly terrible. It's 100% inedible. The strelitzia, or bird of paradise flower, is South African in origin, but thoroughly South American by adoption. This so-called wild banana is notable for its lack of bananas, or indeed of any conspicuous fruit. But the odd, showy flower is extraordinary. It holds a lot of water, and if it has plenty of that, it will last a month, even if cut. The cacao is native to South and Central America. The pod yields from 25 to 60 beans, which, when the white acid pulp is removed, are dried and ground and become what we know as cocoa. Cacao boasts a resounding first name, too, Theobroma. Theobroma cacao. Important in the tropics as the apple is in North America, is shaken off the tree while the fruit is still green. If allowed to ripen on the tree, it's likely to fall, comfortable impact, on somebody's head. It is noteworthy for its antiquity, too, for authorities believe it was in cultivation in the Malay states fully 4,000 years ago. Ask a South American what is the most delicious of all possible fruits, and he'll answer, the mango. Among the immigrants who have done well for themselves in the New World is coffee. We rightly think of tropical America as triumphantly first in coffee, but the plant itself is from the Old World. Some of these berries are green, others already ripe. They contain, as you need hardly be told, the bean to which a large share of the human race pays daily homage, the precious bean without which real felicity in this world would be unattainable. The lovely blossom usually lasts only one day. Of flowers, and one of nature's loveliest and most lavish gifts, these are lilies. The Lilia purpurata. Lilias occur in various colors, purples, browns, greens, and yellows. A lilia in another color combination. All lilias. There are more than 20,000 varieties of orchids, only a few of them known to most of us. And the more we learn of these exquisite blooms, the greater becomes the fascination of the incredible variation in their form and color. The Stanhopea. Each variety has the amazing property of adjustment of its form and color to attract the particular insect necessary for its pollination. The Cattleya aclandii, closely related to the Lilia. This one is perhaps known to you as the corsage orchid. This little bloom is the flame cattleya. Another surprise about orchids, they store up nourishment in their bulbs and can be transported long distances without water or root material. Another cattleya. These tropical orchids are nearly all epiphytal, that is, air plants. The girl is young, very young in comparison with this Cattleya trianae, for the plant is about 500 years old. There are plants supposed to be 1,000 years old, and authorities know no reason why an orchid plant should ever die. This white orchid is of a rare variety. As for color, there is hardly a shade which cannot be matched by some orchid. In size, the blooms vary from those as small as pinheads to those with petals 24 inches long. We in the United States know about this use of orchids as an adornment for the ladies. In the tropics, however, they are known sometimes to cover completely a villager's fence or a church roof. Trees often act as hosts for orchids, but the notion that orchids are parasitic is wholly false. The epiphytals, or air plants, never take nourishment from the tree. They make their own substitute for earth and arrange themselves nicely for drainage during the rainy season. This fine specimen will flower long after the tree stump on which it's growing has disintegrated from old age. On the other hand, it takes months for an orchid seed to germinate, and then you wait years for the first flower to appear. On this tree trunk are orchids in all stages of growth, plants from 3 to 7 years old. The white corky roots wandering over the bark absorb from the atmosphere nourishment to be stored in the bulbs against drought. At the base of the petals is nectar, soon to be a feast for hummingbirds, and when night comes, for an assortment of insects. By the way, did you know that vanilla extract comes from the pod of one of the orchids? Well, it does. Some orchids have no fragrance. The fragrant varieties put forth their scent only during that part of the day or night when the particular insect necessary to carry its pollen is likely to come calling. One variety has in the morning the odor of primrose in late afternoon and evening. And there is one orchid which emits such a stench that it's prudent to stroll about it at some distance. The dendrobium, an East Indian variety, but now quite at home in the western tropics too. Some orchids are expert mimics of insect life. This one, so much like a butterfly, is the Oncidium papilio major. There are more than 700 varieties of the butterfly orchid. Tropical America is so abundantly blessed with orchids that it would take an artist several lifetimes to paint them all. Remarkable, too, are the annals of the orchid hunters who have explored the wilds in search of new varieties, and many have lost their lives in the jungle. Much luckier was the orchid hunter who found a new white variety, which he sold to an English firm for $10,000. A grim detail is that the new orchid was found beautifully blooming on a human skull, possibly that of its original finder. It tried generic hybrid, the Brassicatalelia. Its parents and grandparents were themselves hybrids. It takes from 30 years to develop such a hybrid, but when you have it, it's not only beautiful, but has an intense, pleasant fragrance. Again, great age and youth. This magnificent Cattleya mossii, the Easter orchid, is centuries old. Nature, as a rule, revels in rich coloration, in proclaiming the orchid one of the highest forms of plant evolution. She often uses combinations that would horrify a mere human color expert. In developing the unparalleled variety and never-ending surprises of beauty
spots, we'd arranged for a ground party with a truck to pick us up, but we couldn't see them and just hoped they could see us, particularly when we came to land. One of the most surprising things was the marked change of noise when we left the sea for the land. Before long, the jungle fairly dimmed itself into our ears. It was a thing we'd noticed before, that land sounds appear far clearer and louder when you hear them from the noiselessness of a balloon. Then suddenly it was time to land. We were still traveling fairly fast. I had to judge the right moment to pull the ripcord. This would open a slit in the envelope and get rid of the gas. Quickly. The trail rope caught in the treetops. The basket rocked violently. This was the landing time. Well, we made it. We'd been going...
He had to fight his way 3 hours in, 3 hours out, under constant attack by over 200 Messerschmitts and Focke-Wulfs. He lost men, he lost ships, and couldn't strike his blow. That's rough. Here's Peter Provenzale. Remember him? Argus navigator? day, he got a